The acceptance letter trembled in my hands as tears blurred the words full academic scholarship. I'd done it. 4 years of straight A's, countless all-nighters, and sacrificing my social life had finally paid off. Stanford University wanted me. Me, Willow from small-town Pennsylvania, the girl everyone said would never amount to anything special. "Mom, Dad!" I raced downstairs, nearly tripping over my own feet. "I got in! I actually got in!" The kitchen fell silent. Mom and Dad exchanged that look, the one that made my stomach drop. Travis, my older brother, sat at the table, head buried in his hands. "Honey, sit down," Mom said, her voice unnaturally gentle. "We need to talk." I clutched the letter tighter. "What's wrong?" Dad couldn't meet my eyes. "Your college fund, it's gone." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What do you mean, gone?" "Travis needed help," Mom explained, placing her hand on my brother's shoulder. "He got into some trouble with some dangerous people. We had to use the money to pay off his gambling debts," I finished, my voice hollow. "Again." Travis finally looked up, his eyes red. "I'm sorry, Will. I'll pay you back, I swear." "You said that last time," I whispered. "And the time before that." "This is different," Mom insisted. "Your brother could have been seriously hurt. We had no choice." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "No choice? What about my choices, my future?" "Don't be dramatic," Dad said, finding his voice. "Community college is still an option. Or you could work for a few years, save up." "Save up?" I threw the acceptance letter onto the table. "Do you have any idea how much Stanford costs? The scholarship only covers part of it. That fund was everything I had." "Willow," Mom's tone turned stern. "Family comes first. Travis needed us." "And I don't?" My voice cracked. "I've never asked for anything. I worked my arse off while you threw money at Travis's mistakes over and over." "Watch your tone, young lady," Dad warned. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A welcome interruption. Unknown number. "Hello," I answered, turning away from my family. "Is this Willow Norton? This is Margaret from Mills & Associates law firm. We received your application for the receptionist position. I'd applied weeks ago, desperate for summer work. Now it felt like a lifeline." "Yes, this is she." "Could you come in for an interview tomorrow at 9 a.m? "Absolutely," I said, my mind racing. "I'll be there." I hung up and faced my family again. Travis had disappeared, probably to hide in his room like he always did when things got tough. Mum was already making excuses for him, Dad nodding along. "I have a job interview tomorrow," I announced. "That's nice, dear," Mom said dismissively. "Now about Travis." "No," I cut her off. "I'm done talking about Travis. I'm done with all of this." I stormed upstairs to my room, pulling out my suitcase. Through my tears, I began packing, my movements mechanical. A soft knock at my door made me freeze. "Go away!" The door opened anyway. Sylvia, my best friend from next door, stood there. She must have heard everything through her bedroom window again. "I brought ice cream," she said, holding up a pint and 2 spoons. "Want to talk about it?" I sank onto my bed. "They took everything, Syl. Everything I worked for." She sat beside me, handed me a spoon. "So what are you going to do about it?" "I got a job interview at Mills & Associates." "The law firm?" Sylvia's eyes widened. "That's huge. It's just a receptionist position." "It's a foot in the door," she corrected. "And you're the smartest person I know. You'll work your way up." I stabbed my spoon into the ice cream. "They don't think I can do anything. Did you hear them? Community college is still an option." I mimicked Dad's condescending tone. "Then prove them wrong," Sylvia said simply. "Show them exactly what you can do." I looked at her, really looked at her, and something shifted inside me. The tears dried up. The helplessness transformed into determination. "You're right," I said slowly. "I'm done being the good daughter they can ignore. Done watching Travis destroy everything while they clean up his messes." "What are you going to do?" I smiled, and it wasn't entirely nice. "I'm going to become someone they can't ignore. Someone with real power." I glanced at my Stanford letter, now crumpled on the floor. "They think law school is out of reach? Fine. I'll learn law from the ground up instead." Sylvia grinned. "Now that sounds like a plan." I took another bite of ice cream, my mind already racing ahead. Tomorrow I'd walk into that law firm and start my new life. And someday, when my family needed help again, because they always did, they'd find out exactly who I'd become. Reception. This is Willow speaking. How may I direct your call? I balanced the phone between my ear and shoulder while sorting through a stack of documents. 3 months into my job at Mills & Associates, and I'd already memorized every partner's schedule, client preference, and filing system. "Hey, new girl," a friendly voice called out. I looked up to see Tobias, Mr. Mills's son, leaning against my desk. He pointed at my coffee cup. "That's stone cold. Want a fresh one?" "Thanks, but I can't leave the desk right now. Mr. Mills needs these briefs sorted before the Thompson meeting, I know." He grinned. "I'll watch the phones for 5 minutes. Go get yourself some caffeine." I hesitated, then grabbed my cup. The break room was mercifully empty, but as I reached for the coffee pot, I heard voices from the partners' lounge next door. "That new receptionist," Mr. Mills was saying. "She's something else." "The young one? Willow?" Another voice. Mr. Parker, I thought. "What about her?" "She reorganized our entire filing system last week, found 3 missing depositions that could have cost us the Riverside case, and she's been studying the briefs in her spare time." "A receptionist who actually reads the briefs?" Mr. Parker chuckled. "That's a first. She's wasted at that desk, Jacob. I'm thinking of moving her to paralegal." My hand froze on the coffee pot. Paralegal? After just 3 months? Eavesdropping? A woman's voice made me jump. I spun around to face a tall, elegant black woman in a crisp suit. "I'm Sylvia, new associate attorney, and you're Willow, right? The super receptionist everyone's talking about?" I stammered. She laughed. "Relax. I do my best intel gathering by the coffee machine too." She filled her own cup. "Word is, you're gunning for more than just answering phones." "I want to learn everything I can," I admitted. "Law school isn't an option right now, but there's more than one way to climb a mountain." She nodded approvingly. "Smart girl. Want some free advice? Always. Take a paralegal certification course. Online, nights. When they offer you the position, and they will, you'll be ready." I smiled. "I started the course 2 weeks ago." "Even smarter than I thought." She handed me a business card. "I like you, Willow. Let's do lunch sometime." Back at my desk, Tobias was struggling with the phones. "3 lines at once," he complained. "How do you do this?" "Practice," I said, smoothly taking over. "And a really good memory." "Speaking of memory," he lowered his voice, "your brother called while you were gone, said it was urgent." My smile vanished. "Did he leave a message?" "Just asked you to call home." "Thanks. I wouldn't be calling back." Later that evening, as I was preparing to leave, my cell phone rang. Mom's number. I let it go to voicemail, but she called right back. "What?" I answered sharply. "Don't take that tone with me," she snapped. "We haven't heard from you in weeks. Travis needs—" "I'm at work, Mom. I can't talk." "Work? That receptionist job? Honey, you need to think about your future. Your father knows someone at the bank who could—" "I have to go." I hung up, hands shaking. "Family trouble?" I jumped. Mr. Mills stood behind me, coat in hand. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't usually take personal calls at work." "Willow," he said kindly, "I've been watching you. You're first in, last out. You study every document that crosses your desk. You've learned our filing system better than people who've been here for years." I straightened my shoulders. "I want to learn everything I can, sir." "Why?" "Because knowledge is power," I said without thinking, then blushed. "No, you're exactly right," he smiled. "How would you like to move up to paralegal? We'll adjust your schedule so you can finish your certification." My heart raced. "I'd love that opportunity, sir." "Good. And Willow?" He paused at the door. "Whatever's going on with your family, don't let it distract you. I see real potential in you." After he left, I sat at my desk, staring at my phone. 3 missed calls from Mom, 2 from Travis. Let them call. Let them need me. I opened my laptop and pulled up my paralegal coursework. Every hour studying was another step away from being that helpless girl whose dreams they'd stolen, another step toward becoming someone with real power. Knowledge is power, I whispered to myself, and began to read. 4 years flew by like pages in a windstorm. I stood in front of my office mirror, adjusting my new designer blazer, a gift to myself for making junior partner at 31. The brass nameplate on my desk still gave me a thrill. Willow Norton, partner. A knock at my door interrupted my moment of pride. Come in, Sylvia breezed in, now head of corporate law. Ready for the Henderson meeting? It's going to be brutal. When isn't it? I grabbed my tablet. Did you see their latest counteroffer? Insulting is what it was. She paused, studying my face. You okay? You look tired. Travis called last night, first time in 2 years. Ah. She sat on the edge of my desk. What did baby brother want? Didn't answer, but he left 6 voicemails, each more desperate than the last. Show me your game face, Sylvia demanded. I straightened my spine, lifted my chin, and let my expression cool into what Tobias called my shark smile. Better? Perfect. Now let's go eat some CEOs for breakfast. The Henderson meeting was exactly as brutal as predicted, but I'd learned from the best. 4 hours later, I had them exactly where I wanted them. So we're agreed, I said, sliding the contract across the table. 20 million plus restructuring terms. This is highway robbery, Henderson growled. No, I smiled my shark smile. This is business. Sign, or we'll see you in court. They signed. Back in my office, I finally checked my voicemails. Travis's voice increasingly panicked. Will, please, I really need to talk to you. It's bad this time. Really bad. They're going to take the house, Will. Mum and Dad's house. Please call me back. I don't know what to do. They're giving us 30 days. Willow, please, I'm begging you. I was still staring at my phone when Tobias walked in. Earth to Willow. Dad's looking for you. Sorry, I gestured at the phone. Family stuff? He perched on my desk, our old familiar positions reversed now that I had the corner office. Want to talk about it? Not much to say. They made their choices, I made mine. Yeah, but they're still family. I shot him a look. Easy to say when your family supported your dreams instead of stealing them. Fair point. He stood. Anyway, Dad wants to see you about the Martinez case. And Will? He paused at the door. Whatever you decide, I've got your back. Mr. Mills was waiting in his office, looking exactly as he had the day he hired me, just a little grayer at the temples. Sit down, Willow. Tell me about Henderson. Signed and delivered, 20 million plus all our terms. Excellent, he leaned back. You've come a long way from that receptionist desk. Thanks to you, sir. No, he shook his head. Thanks to you. Your drive, your determination. I just opened the door, you walked through it. My phone buzzed again. Travis. Problem? Mr. Mills asked. No, sir, just family? When I nodded, he continued. You know, I've never asked about them. Seemed like a sore subject. They made some choices I couldn't forgive. Ah, he studied me. And now they need your help? I looked up, startled. How did you... 30 years in law, Willow. I know that look. He paused. Want some advice? Always, sir. Sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment. It's success. He smiled. You've proven yourself. Maybe it's time to show them exactly who you've become. Back in my office, I pulled up the county records database. Sure enough, there it was. A foreclosure notice on my parents' house. They were underwater on the mortgage, months behind on payments. My phone rang again. Mom this time. Willow? Her voice was smaller than I remembered. Please don't hang up. What do you want, Mom? We need help. The bank. They're going to take the house. Travis tried everything, but what? His gambling buddies won't loan him more money. That's not fair, she protested weakly. No, I laughed. What's not fair is stealing your daughter's future to enable your son's addiction. What's not fair is... I stopped, took a breath. You know what? Never mind. I'll help. You will? The relief in her voice was painful. Yes, but we'll do this my way. All of you come to my office tomorrow at 2 p.m. Your office? Mills and Associates, 23rd floor, don't be late. I hung up and stared out my window at the city below. Mr. Mills was right. I'd proven myself. Now it was time to show my family exactly who they'd underestimated. Let them come to my territory. Let them see my name on the door, my view from the top. Let them finally see me. At 1:55 p.m, my assistant buzzed. Your family is here. Give me 2 minutes, then send them in. I stood behind my desk, smoothing my skirt. The wall of legal degrees and awards behind me felt like armor. The door opened. Mum entered first, looking smaller than I remembered, followed by Dad, who'd gone completely grey. Travis shuffled in last, unable to meet my eyes. Have a seat. I gestured to the chairs facing my desk. Willow, Mum started. This is quite an office. Partner perks. I sat down. So, tell me about the foreclosure. They exchanged glances. Travis cleared his throat. It's my fault. I borrowed against the house to cover some debts. Promised I'd pay it back, but you gambled that money away too? I finished, my voice ice cold. It wasn't like that, Mom jumped in. He was trying to invest. In what, Mom? Poker? Horses? Or has he graduated to sports betting? Now listen here, Dad finally spoke up. We didn't come for a lecture. No, you came for money. I opened a folder on my desk. The house is worth $320,000. You owe $425,000, thanks to multiple home equity loans. You're 4 months behind on payments, and the bank has initiated foreclosure proceedings. How did you... Travis started. I'm a lawyer, Travis. Finding information is what I do. I leaned forward. Here's what I don't understand. Where did all that equity go? The house was paid off when I left for college. Silence. That's what I thought. I stood up, walking to my window. You know what's interesting? I pulled Travis's credit report. 7 maxed out credit cards, 3 personal loans, and somehow he still has a gambling account with weekly deposits. You had no right, Travis jumped up. Sit down. My voice cracked like a whip. He sat. I have every right. You're asking me for help? This is how I help. By finding the truth. Please, Mum whispered. We'll lose everything. Like I lost everything? I turned to face them. Like when you stole my college fund? That was different, Dad protested weakly. You're right, it was different. Because I didn't gamble it away. I didn't throw it down a hole of addiction and lies. I returned to my desk. But here's what I'm offering. I pulled out a contract. I'll buy the house, pay off the mortgage, clear the debt. But there are conditions. What conditions? Travis asked suspiciously. First, Travis gets help. Real help. I've already arranged a spot at a rehabilitation facility. 6 months minimum. 6 months? He exploded. I can't. You can and you will. Second, I continued over his protests. Mom and Dad can stay in the house, but the deed will be in my name. And third, every penny Travis earns after rehab goes toward paying me back. That's blackmail, Mom stammered. No, that's consequences. Something this family never learned about. The door opened and Sylvia walked in right on cue. Sorry to interrupt. Are these the contracts for the house purchase? Perfect timing, I smiled. Mom, Dad, this is Sylvia Reynolds, head of corporate law. She'll be handling the paperwork. You planned all this, Travis accused. Of course I did. That's what successful people do, Travis. They plan. They don't gamble their family's future away. Dad stood up suddenly. We need time to think about this. You have 24 hours, I said. After that, the offer expires, and good luck finding another solution in time to stop the foreclosure. Come on, Mom tugged at Travis's arm. Let's go. At the door, Travis paused. You're enjoying this, aren't you, making us beg? No, Travis, I'm not enjoying this at all. I met his eyes. But someone has to stop this cycle. It might as well be me. After they left, Sylvia perched on my desk. Well, that was intense. Did I go too far? Are you kidding? That was masterful. Ice cold, but masterful. She studied my face. You okay? Ask me tomorrow. I picked up the contract. Think they'll sign? They don't have a choice. You're their only option, and they know it. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. We'll sign, But I hope you're happy with what you've become. I showed Sylvia the message. She snorted. What you've become? You mean successful, independent, powerful? Exactly. I smiled, but it felt brittle. Everything they never wanted me to be. I turned back to my window, watching the city lights flicker on as dusk approached. Tomorrow they'd sign. Tomorrow the tables would finally turn. But Mom's words echoed in my head. I hope you're happy with what you've become. The truth was, I wasn't sure how I felt about it either, but it was too late to turn back now. The conference room felt colder than usual as my family filed in the next morning. Mum's eyes were red-rimmed, Dad looked like he hadn't slept, and Travis just looked defeated. Sylvia laid out the contracts while I stood at the head of the table. Everything's in order, she said. Just needs signatures. Before we sign, Travis spoke up, his voice hoarse. I want to know something. Why are you really doing this, Will? I told you, someone has to… No. He stood up, hands flat on the table. The truth. Is this revenge? For the college fund? Sit down, Travis, Mom hissed. No, let him speak, I said. You want the truth? Fine. This isn't about revenge. This is about consequences, about finally facing reality instead of enabling more destruction. That's rich, he laughed bitterly. You standing there in your fancy suit, in your fancy office judging us. I earned this, I snapped. Every bit of it. While you were gambling away their retirement, I was working 80-hour weeks. While you were taking out loans you couldn't repay, I was studying law at night. Everything I have, I built myself. Because you're so perfect. Because I had no choice. My voice cracked. You took my choices away, remember? All of you. You took my dream and threw it away like it meant nothing. Willow, Dad started. No, let me finish. I took a breath. You know what the worst part was? Not losing Stanford, not losing the money. It was realizing that to my own family, I would always matter less than Travis's next crisis. Silence filled the room like smoke. Sign the papers, I said quietly. Take the help I'm offering, or don't. But this is your last chance. Mom picked up the pen first. Her hand trembled as she signed. This isn't right, Travis muttered. What isn't right? Sylvia spoke up, is destroying your family's financial security for a gambling addiction. What isn't right is making your sister clean up your mess after stealing her future. Stay out of this, he snarled. Travis, Dad's voice was tired. Just sign the damn papers. One by one, they signed. When it was done, Sylvia gathered the contracts. The rehab center is expecting you tomorrow morning, I told Travis. A car will pick you up at 8 a.m. And if I don't go? Then Mom and Dad lose the house anyway. Your choice. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Mom started to follow, then turned back. Was it really so terrible? She asked. Growing up with us? No, Mom. Growing up was fine. It was being sacrificed for Travis that was terrible. We never meant to hurt me, to destroy my dreams, to make me feel worthless. I shook my head. But you did. And now here we are. Dad stood up slowly. You've made your point, Willow. You won. Are you happy now? This isn't about winning, Dad. This is about fixing what's broken. All of it. After they left, Sylvia touched my arm. You did the right thing. Then why does it feel so awful? Because you care. She squeezed my shoulder. That's what makes you different from them. You care enough to do the hard thing. My phone buzzed. A text from Tobias. Drinks tonight? You look like you need one. Go, Sylvia urged. I'll handle the paperwork. The bar was quiet for a Thursday. Tobias was already at our usual corner table. That bad, huh? He asked as I slumped into a chair. Worse. I told him everything. You know what's crazy? He said when I finished. You're actually helping them. Really helping them, not just enabling more problems. Try telling them that. They'll figure it out. Eventually. He signaled for more drinks. Remember what Dad always says about tough cases? Sometimes the right decision feels wrong until it proves itself right. Exactly. He raised his glass. To doing the right thing even when it hurts. I clinked my glass against his, but before I could drink, my phone buzzed again. Travis. What? I answered. I'll go, he said quietly. To rehab. I'll go. Something tight in my chest loosened slightly. Good. But not for you, he added quickly. For Mom and Dad. And for me, I guess. That's even better. A pause. I really messed up, didn't I? Everything. Everyone. Yes, I said softly. But maybe now you can start fixing it. After we hung up, Tobias raised an eyebrow. Progress. Maybe. I stared into my drink. Or maybe just another promise he won't keep. Only one way to find out. Yeah. I took a sip. Time will tell. And for the first time since this all began, I felt something close to hope. 3 months after Travis entered rehab, Mum called during my lunch break. He's doing well, she said, her voice cautiously optimistic. The counselors say he's making progress. That's good. I picked at my salad, waiting for the other shoe to drop. He asked if you'd visit. There it was. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, Willow, he's really trying this time. Before I could respond, Sylvia burst into my office. Turn on the news, now. I switched on the wall-mounted TV. Mum, I have to go. The headline made my blood run cold. Major law firm implicated in fraud scandal. Below it, a familiar name scrolled across the screen. That's impossible, I whispered. We handled their accounts. Emergency partner meeting in 5 minutes, Sylvia said grimly. The conference room was chaos, partners shouting over each other, associates hovering nervously by the walls. Mr. Mills stood at the head of the table, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Quiet, he commanded. The room fell silent. The Henderson Group has been charged with massive securities fraud. They're claiming we knew about it. That's ridiculous, I stood up. I handled their contracts personally. Everything was... They're saying you specifically signed off on fraudulent documents. The room spun. What? They're trying to save themselves, Tobias spoke up, throwing us under the bus. Willow, Mr. Mills said quietly, did you check every document they provided? Of course I stopped, remembering. There had been so many papers, so many meetings. Had I missed something? My phone buzzed. Travis. Not now. We need to review everything, Sylvia announced. Every contract, every email, every post-it note. Already on it, I pulled out my tablet. I kept copies of everything. Hours blurred into days. I barely left the office, surviving on coffee and determination. My phone kept buzzing. Travis, Mom, Dad. I ignored them all. On the 4th day, Tobias found me asleep at my desk. Go home, he ordered. You're no good to anyone like this. Can't. Almost found. Something's not right with these numbers. Willow, he took my coffee cup away. You need rest. What I need is to not lose everything I've built. The words burst out of me. Do you know what they'll do if this sticks? I'll be disbarred. Everything I worked for, gone. Just like your college fund, he finished gently. I laughed, slightly hysterical. Karma's a bitch, right? This isn't karma. This is corporate sharks trying to save themselves. He paused. Have you talked to Travis? What does Travis have to do with anything? He keeps calling the office, says it's important. Everything's important with Travis. My phone buzzed again. Travis. For God's sake, answer it, Tobias said. I did. What? Will, listen. The Henderson thing. I know something. I sat up straight. What are you talking about? One of the guys here in rehab, he used to work in their accounting department. He's been watching the news and he says he has proof they were cooking the books way before you got involved. Put him on. An hour later, I burst into Mr. Mills's office clutching my phone. I've got it. Proof Henderson was committing fraud before they ever came to us. They doctored their books before presenting them. He looked up sharply. You're sure? My brother's rehab mate worked there. He kept copies of everything. Original documents, altered versions, emails discussing the changes. He's willing to testify. Mr. Mills smiled for the first time in days. Your brother's rehab mate? Sometimes help comes from unexpected places, I said softly. That night, I finally went home. My phone buzzed. Travis again. Thank you, I said when I answered. Did it help? More than you know. A pause. I'm trying, Will. Really trying this time. I know. The counsellor says I should make amends. Real ones, not just words. I sank onto my couch. And I'm sorry. For everything. The college fund, the house, all of it. I know sorry doesn't fix it, but... No, I agreed. It doesn't fix it, but it's a start. Another pause. Will you visit? Please? I closed my eyes, thinking of karma and consequences of help from unexpected places. Next weekend, I said finally. I'll come next weekend. After we hung up, I stared at my reflection in the window. The woman who looked back wasn't the angry girl whose dreams were stolen, nor the cold lawyer seeking revenge. She was something in between, something still evolving. Maybe we all were. The rehab centre looked more like a college campus than a medical facility. I sat across from Travis in the visitors' lounge, both of us clutching paper cups of mediocre coffee. You look good, I said, and meant it. The haunted look in his eyes had faded. 4 months clean. He smiled slightly. Longest I've gone since college, probably. Mom says you're doing well. Most days. He fidgeted with his cup. Some days are harder, but I'm learning to deal with it. Actually deal with it, not just run away. A comfortable silence fell between us. The first in years. I found something, he said suddenly, pulling an envelope from his pocket. When I was cleaning out my old room at Mom and Dad's, before coming here. My stomach tightened. What is it? Letters. From Stanford. He slid the envelope across the table. From after we took your money. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were dozens of letters spanning months. Financial aid offers, work-study programs, alternative payment plans. They wanted me, I whispered. They were trying to help me find a way. Mom and Dad hid them. Travis couldn't meet my eyes. They said it would just hurt you more, seeing what you couldn't have. But really, they just didn't want you to leave. Why are you showing me this now? Because you deserve to know the whole truth. About everything. He took a deep breath, including why they really took your college fund. My coffee went cold as Travis talked. About Dad's gambling debts from years ago. About Mom's secret credit cards. About how my college fund hadn't just gone to Travis's gambling. It had gone to cover decades of family financial secrets. They used me as the scapegoat, he said quietly. Let you blame me because, well, I was already the screw-up, right? Why didn't you tell me? Because I was guilty too. Maybe not of everything, but enough. He ran a hand through his hair. Besides, would you have believed me back then? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Dad's number. Speaking of truth, Travis said, they know I'm telling you today. That's probably them now, I answered. Hello? Don't listen to him. Dad's voice was desperate. He's confused. The rehab is making him... Is it true? I cut him off. Did you hide the Stanford letters? Silence. Did you use my money to cover your gambling debts too? Willow, please. I'm coming over, I said. Now. And this time, we're all going to tell the truth. I found them in their kitchen. My kitchen now, technically. Mum was stress baking, the counter covered in cookies no one would eat. Dad sat at the table looking small. Start talking, I said. They did. Everything Travis said was true and worse. Years of financial manipulation. Lies piled on lies. My college fund had been their last resort, their final safety net. And they'd sacrificed me, to save themselves. We never meant, Mum started. To get caught, I finished. That's the only thing you never meant to happen. What are you going to do? Dad asked. I looked around the kitchen where I'd grown up, where I'd done homework and baked cookies and dreamed of Stanford. Nothing, I said finally. Nothing. The house is still mine. The contracts stand. Travis stays in rehab. I stood up. But now I know the truth, and that's worth more than revenge. We did love you, Mum said softly. We still do. Love isn't enough, Mom. Trust is everything, and you broke that a long time ago. Back at my office, Sylvia found me staring out my window. That bad? Worse? I told her everything. Jesus, she whispered. What now? Now? I turned to face her. Now I keep the house. Keep helping Travis. Keep building my own life. Just like that? No. I smiled sadly. But I'm done letting their choices control my future. I've got my own path now. My phone buzzed. A text from Travis. Thank you for listening, for everything. You know what's funny? I said to Sylvia. All these years, I thought getting revenge would fix everything, make me feel whole again. And now? Now I realize the best revenge was never about hurting them. It was about healing myself. She hugged me tight. That's my girl. Another text came through from Mr. Mills. Dinner tonight? We need to discuss your future at the firm. Speaking of futures, I showed Sylvia the text. Want to bet he's finally ready to make me senior partner? After how you handled Henderson, it's about damn time. I looked at my reflection in the window, remembering that broken girl whose dreams were stolen. She wasn't broken anymore. She was finally, truly free. Senior partner, Mr. Mills announced, raising his glass. The youngest in the firm's history. The private dining room at La Maison erupted in applause. Sylvia hugged me, Tobias whistled, and the other partners nodded approvingly. Speech, someone called out. I stood, smoothing my dress. Thank you, all of you. Especially you, Mr. Mills, for seeing something in that determined receptionist all those years ago. I saw myself, he said quietly. Someone hungry for success, not because of greed, but because of necessity. My phone buzzed. Travis. Sorry, I told the group. I need to take this. In the restaurant's quiet hallway, I answered. Everything okay? Just finished my last therapy session, he said. 6 months clean today. Congratulations. The counselor thinks I'm ready to start working again. Actually, he hesitated. Remember that accounting degree I never finished? What about it? I'm going back. Online classes at first, but it's a start. That's amazing, Travis. I was thinking, he continued, maybe when I graduate I could help out at the firm. In the accounting department. I mean, I know I have to earn trust back, but one step at a time, I said gently. Focus on your degree first. Right. Yeah, he paused. Mom and Dad asked about you. What did you tell them? The truth, that you're doing great, that you're stronger than any of us knew. Back in the dining room, Mr. Mills was deep in conversation with Sylvia about the Henderson case. The evidence Travis's rehab mate provided had blown the case wide open, saving not just our firm but potentially dozens of investors. Speaking of Henderson, Mr. Mills turned to me. The SEC wants to know if you'll testify next month. Already prepared my statement. That's my girl, he smiled proudly. You know, I never had daughters, but if I did. My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. A text. Saw your promotion in the paper. We're proud of you. If you ever want to talk. I showed Sylvia the message. You going to respond? She asked. Not tonight. I put the phone away. Tonight is about celebrating. Willow, Tobias called out. Tell them about the pro bono program you're starting. All eyes turned to me. It's nothing fancy, I said. Just a legal aid initiative for families facing foreclosure. Free counsel, payment plans, addiction resources if needed. Turning your pain into purpose, Sylvia whispered. Something like that. Later, as the party wound down, Mr. Mills pulled me aside. You've come so far, he said, but something's still bothering you. I got everything I wanted, I admitted. Success, power, revenge, so why doesn't it feel complete? Because revenge is empty without forgiveness. Not for them, but for yourself. I thought about Mom's text, about Travis's recovery, about all the lies and truth between us. I can't forget what they did. No one's asking you to forget, but maybe it's time to write a new story. One where you're not the victim, but the victor. My phone buzzed one last time. Dad, the house feels empty without you. Your old room is still here. Always will be. I typed back. Having dinner with my other family tonight. My chosen family. Maybe someday we can all have dinner together, but not yet. Baby steps, Mr. Mills said, reading over my shoulder. That's how empires are built. And families rebuilt? Sometimes. He squeezed my shoulder. But first you build yourself. The night air was crisp as we left the restaurant. Sylvia linked her arm through mine. So, senior partner, what's next? I looked up at the city lights, at the world of possibilities stretching before me. Next, we help people. We build something meaningful. We turn all this power into purpose. And your family? They're part of my story, I said slowly. But they don't get to write the ending anymore. I do. My phone lit up with responses. Support from Travis. Understanding from Dad. Hope from Mom. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But possibility. You know what the best revenge really is? I asked Sylvia. What's that? Living well, building something good from something broken, and choosing your own path no matter what anyone else planned for you. She hugged me tight. Now that's a revenge story worth telling. Above us, stars peeked through the city's glow, reminding me of that night years ago when I'd stared at my Stanford acceptance letter. I hadn't gotten that dream, but I'd built new ones, better ones, stronger ones, and this time, no one could take them away. Because this time, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving, and that was the sweetest revenge of all.
In a quiet residential area of suburban Chicago, the morning sun filters through the trees, gently illuminating an old two-story house. Nicole, 38, wakes to the sound of her alarm clock. Looking beside her, she finds Nigel's side of the bed empty. She lets out a deep sigh and slowly rises. Standing before the mirror, Nicole stares at her tired reflection. Dark circles have formed under her eyes, perhaps from years of fertility treatments. As she brushes her hair, she reflects on 15 years of marriage. The strong desire to have children, repeated fertility treatments, and a gradually cooling marriage. Nicole closes her eyes and shakes her head, as if unable to bear the weight of memories. Downstairs, Nicole eats breakfast alone in the kitchen. On the table lies a simple note from Nigel, left early for work. Will be late. Nicole manages a sad smile at the message. After breakfast, Nicole begins preparing for work. As she packs teaching materials into her bag, she works as an elementary school teacher. Her eyes fall on an adoption brochure. She remembers suggesting it to Nigel, only to face strong opposition. On her way to the front door, Nicole pauses at their wedding photo displayed on the living room shelf. Two smiling faces pressed close together. Such hopeful expressions, so different from now. Nicole picks up the photo, gazing at it nostalgically. Where did we go wrong? Nicole whispers softly. Returning the photo to its place, Nicole leaves the house. Before getting into her car, she glances at the neighboring house. She catches sight of a young couple laughing together in their yard, holding a small child. Nicole's expression clouds momentarily, but she quickly composes herself and starts the car. After a long day at school, Nicole returns home, visibly tired. Silence envelopes her as she enters. Nigel isn't home yet. Nicole prepares and eats a simple dinner alone. Afterward, she sits in the living room, spreading a photo album across her lap. Wedding photos, honeymoon memories, and pictures of their happy early years together. With each turn of the page, tears well up in Nicole's eyes. On the last page is a photo of Nicole's great-grandmother Miranda, taken in pre-Depression Chicago. Miranda stands in front of an old historical house, now demolished. As Nicole gazes at the photo, an idea strikes her. She hurriedly opens her laptop and begins searching real estate websites. Maybe this could be what saves our relationship, Nicole murmurs to herself. She continues searching for old house listings late into the night. Outside her window, the full moon shines quietly. For the first time in a long while, a glimmer of hope sparkles in Nicole's eyes. Several weeks later, Nicole and Nigel's 15th wedding anniversary arrives. Nicole prepares a special dinner and waits for Nigel's return. However, the appointed time passes, and Nigel doesn't come home. Nicole calls Nigel's cell phone repeatedly, but there's no answer. When she finally gets through, he makes excuses about being busy with work, dismissing Nicole's feelings. Amid mixed feelings of disappointment and anger, Nicole steels her resolve. The next morning, she tells Nigel they need to have a serious talk. "Nigel, I think this might be our last chance to save our relationship. Would you consider buying an old house I found and renovating it together?" Though Nigel initially shows reluctance, he eventually agrees, swayed by Nicole's enthusiasm. On moving day, after purchasing the house, Nicole steps inside with excitement. The creaking of old wooden floors, the unique patterns of the wallpaper, and the historical atmosphere filling each room all captivate her heart. However, Nigel remains cold. Consumed by work calls, he shows little interest in the renovation. Though disappointed, Nicole begins renovation work alone. As she strips wallpaper, polishes floors, and arranges furniture, working up a sweat, she gradually develops an attachment to the house. One day, while removing wallpaper in the upstairs bedroom, something falls from within the wall. An old diary, a mysterious key, and an envelope addressed to Nicole. Nicole's hands tremble with surprise and excitement. But just as she's about to examine them, she hears Nigel's voice, unexpectedly home. Nicole hurriedly hides her discoveries and goes downstairs. Nigel, absorbed in work talk, doesn't notice her state. That night, lying in bed, Nicole thinks about the hidden items. She resolves to examine them thoroughly tomorrow, closing her eyes. However, in her heart, new mysteries and expectations begin to grow. Nicole wakes and looks beside her. Nigel isn't there. While this isn't unusual, something feels different this morning. She slowly gets out of bed and heads downstairs. Entering the living room, she notices a piece of paper on the table. Nicole picks it up with trepidation. "I can't take it anymore. I've sold the house. Goodbye." Just one line. Nicole reads it over and over in disbelief. Confusion and fear overwhelm her. "Nigel, what does this mean?" Nicole calls Nigel's cell phone with trembling hands. But the call won't connect. She redials repeatedly, with the same result. Near panic, Nicole calls her childhood friend Samantha, who uses a wheelchair after an accident several years ago. Nicole has helped care for her. "Samantha, please, help me." Samantha's calm voice slightly soothes Nicole's troubled heart. Samantha listens calmly to the situation and advises consulting a lawyer. That afternoon, Nicole visits a law office with Samantha. The lawyer's words are cold. "I'm sorry, but your husband has the right to sell the house. It's a legally valid transaction." Nicole nearly collapses. Samantha supports her shoulder. "But, it's my house." The lawyer looks at Nicole sympathetically but explains there's nothing that can be done legally. That night, Nicole stays at Samantha's house. She lies in the guest room bed, in a state of shock. Days pass, and Nicole goes through the motions mechanically. Samantha worries about her and provides all the support she can. One morning, Nicole's smartphone chimes. An email notification. She sees it's from Nigel and opens it fearfully. The email's contents confirm Nicole's worst fears. Nigel reveals he has been involved with his colleague Serena and is starting a new family with her and her 5-year-old son. Nicole trembles with intense shock. Samantha hurries to her side. "Nicole, are you okay? What happened?" Unable to speak, Nicole simply hands her smartphone to Samantha. Reading the email, Samantha's expression shows a mix of anger and sadness. "Nicole, I'm so sorry. That man Nigel is the worst." Nicole suddenly breaks down in tears. 15 years of marriage, dreams of having children, and the recently purchased house, the reality that everything has crumbled in an instant is unbearable. Samantha gently embraces Nicole, able only to be there for her. Time passes slowly. Days later, Nicole slowly begins to accept reality. Samantha's encouragement and support gradually heal her heart. One morning, Nicole suddenly remembers the diary and envelope left at the house. The items she found in the wall that day. "Samantha, I need to go back to the house." Samantha looks worried. "Are you sure? Isn't it too soon?" Nicole responds with determination. "There's something important to me in that house. I need to get it back." Sensing Nicole's resolve, Samantha slowly nods. "I understand. I'll go with you." Nicole looks at Samantha with gratitude. She takes a deep breath, mustering courage to face the challenges ahead. The two get in the car and head toward what was once Nicole and Nigel's house. During the drive, Nicole gazes out the window, contemplating her future life. Though she has lost much, there is still hope. Perhaps the contents of the diary and envelope will show her a new path. A small light begins to glow in Nicole's heart. Samantha's car stops in front of what was once Nicole and Nigel's house. Nicole takes a deep breath and opens the door with trembling hands. "Are you okay?" comes Samantha's concerned voice. Nicole gives a slight nod. "Yes. I'll go in." Standing before the house, she's overwhelmed by a mix of nostalgia and pain. Days earlier, with Samantha's help, she had contacted the new owners and received permission to retrieve her personal belongings. When she rings the doorbell, a middle-aged woman answers. She looks at Nicole with sympathetic eyes and quietly invites her in. "Take your time gathering what you need. There's no rush." Nicole expresses her gratitude and climbs the stairs. Entering the second-floor bedroom, she remembers the diary and envelope hidden in the wall. Fortunately, the new owners hadn't begun renovations yet. Carefully peeling back the wallpaper, Nicole retrieves the diary and envelope from their hiding place. The moment she holds them, a strange sense of relief washes over her. Before leaving the house, Nicole takes one last look around the living room. Memories of the days spent here flash through her mind like a film reel. With tears in her eyes, she quietly closes the door. Back in the car, Samantha offers a gentle smile. "Did you find them?" Nicole nods, showing the diary in envelope pressed to her chest. "Yes. There might be family secrets hidden in here." That night, at Samantha's house, Nicole nervously opens the diary. As she turns the yellowed pages, her great-grandmother Miranda's delicate handwriting appears. Nicole reads intently. Remarkable facts begin to emerge. This house had been part of the Underground Railroad during the Civil War. Miranda, though white, had helped escaped slaves find freedom. "I can't believe it." Nicole breathes. Samantha asks curiously, "What is it?" Nicole excitedly explains the diary's contents to Samantha. Samantha's eyes gradually begin to shine with interest. Next, Nicole opens the envelope addressed to Nicole. Inside is a letter from Miranda. The letter describes the location of a hidden room in the house and important evidence stored there. "Nicole, this is incredible!" Samantha exclaims. "This house has historical value." Nicole speaks with determination. "Samantha, I have to protect this house. I have to preserve this history." The next day, Nicole contacts the local Historical Preservation Society. She passionately explains the house's historical significance and requests their assistance with investigation. The society shows interest and promises to send a research team immediately. Days later, a team of historians and architectural experts visits the house. Nicole and Samantha accompany them, sharing the contents of Miranda's diary and letter. As the investigation progresses, the house's historical value becomes increasingly clear. The hidden room is discovered, yielding Civil War-era artifacts and documents. Nicole is overwhelmed by the significance of her discovery. In her heart, the pain of lost family and marriage begins to be replaced by a new sense of purpose. One day, a member of the research team approaches Nicole excitedly. "Ms. Nicole, we found someone who knew about Miranda's activities. An 85-year-old woman named Audrey. She's also a witness to the civil rights movement." Nicole's heart races. She immediately requests to meet Audrey. Days later, Nicole and Samantha visit Audrey's home. Audrey welcomes them with a warm smile. "To meet Miranda's great-granddaughter. I'm so happy." Tears glisten in Audrey's eyes. Nicole can barely contain her excitement as she asks, "Audrey, please tell me about my great-grandmother. What kind of person was she?" Audrey gazes into the distance and begins to speak. "Miranda was a courageous woman. She believed in human dignity regardless of race or color. She saved many lives, and my family was one of them." Nicole catches her breath. Tears well up in her eyes too. Audrey continues, "Miranda's house was a beacon of hope for escaped slaves. And that spirit continued through the civil rights era." Nicole strongly realizes her important role in preserving this historical legacy. A new determination grows in her heart. "Audrey, I will protect this house and its hidden history. I will carry on my great-grandmother's legacy." Audrey smiles gently and takes Nicole's hand. You can do it. Miranda would be proud. On the drive home, Nicole and Samantha talk quietly. Nicole, you have a new mission now, Samantha says. Nicole nods. Yes. I'll protect this house. And I want to share its history with many people. As the car drives quietly through the sunset-painted sky, Nicole's heart is filled with new hope and determination. Several days after meeting Audrey, Nicole begins a campaign to preserve the house's historical value with renewed determination. With Samantha's help, she starts sharing information on social media and actively reaching out to local history enthusiasts and civic groups. Nicole's passion and the house's remarkable history gradually capture the interest of local residents. One day, a local newspaper reporter requests an interview with Nicole. Could you tell us more about the historical value of this house? The reporter asks eagerly, taking notes. Nicole takes a deep breath and responds, this house is more than just an old building. During the Civil War, it played a crucial role in saving the lives of escaped slaves. And that spirit of resistance continued through the civil rights era. When the article is published, Nicole's efforts gain widespread attention. Local television stations come to report on the house's hidden room and discovered artifacts. Nicole gradually begins to feel that her voice is reaching people. However, shocking news arrives just as things are gaining momentum. The real estate developer who bought the house announces plans to build a high-rise apartment building on the property. Nicole, it's terrible. Samantha calls in a panic. The developer is planning to demolish the house. Nicole is momentarily speechless. But she quickly regains her composure. Samantha, I won't give up. We have a reason to protect this house. A reason to preserve this history. A race against time begins. Nicole consults with lawyers, seeking legal means to prevent the house's demolition. Simultaneously, she continues to appeal to the media, persistently advocating for the house's importance. Nicole's determined efforts bear fruit as her campaign receives national news coverage. One evening, her interview appears on a major news program. This house is a crucial part of our history, Nicole declares to the camera with a serious expression. It holds the stories of courageous people. We cannot let these stories be erased. By chance, someone watches this program in another city, Nigel. He stares at the television screen in shock. Nicole. He whispers. The Nicole on screen is clearly different from the wife he knew. She's confident, passionate. Nigel finally realizes the true value of the house he sold and the foolishness of his decision. Dad, what's wrong? Serena's son asks curiously beside him. Nigel snaps back to reality, managing a bitter smile. Nothing, it's nothing. However, from that night on, changes begin to stir in Nigel's heart. He starts questioning his new life with Serena. After work, he often finds himself lost in thought. Meanwhile, Nicole begins to notice changes within herself as she immerses herself in her mission. Once trapped in the grief of being unable to have children, she now finds a new purpose. One day, Samantha says to Nicole, "Nicole, you seem so alive lately." Nicole looks surprised for a moment, then smiles gently. Really? I hadn't noticed. But you're right, I do have a goal now. Something to protect. Samantha nods happily. That's the spirit. I know you can save this house. Nicole strengthens her resolve. Thank you, Samantha. I won't give up this fight. During this time, negotiations with the developer reach a stalemate. They prioritize profit and refuse to listen to Nicole's appeals. However, support for Nicole's efforts grows daily. Local residents, historians, and supporters from across the country gather around her cause. One day, Nicole gives a speech at a protest rally in front of the house. This house is a bridge connecting our past and future. It holds the spirits of those who fought for freedom and equality. We have a responsibility to protect that spirit and pass it on to the next generation. Loud applause erupts from the gathered crowd. Nicole feels her words reaching people's hearts, and her own heart swells with emotion. While the battle to save the house continues, an unwavering determination has taken root in Nicole's heart. She has begun walking a new chapter of her life alongside this house. In the midst of national attention on Nicole's movement to save the house, she makes a decision. She will search for the hidden room mentioned in her great-grandmother Miranda's letter. After extensive negotiations with the new owners, she finally obtains permission to investigate. Early one morning, Nicole arrives at the house with Samantha. As they walk across the dew-covered lawn toward the entrance, neighbors watch with interest. Several historians and architectural experts have already gathered in front of the house. Ready? Samantha asks gently. Nicole takes a deep breath and nods. Yes, let's begin. Inside, Nicole begins examining the walls carefully, following the letter's instructions. The experts assist, using modern equipment to scan behind the walls. After several hours, when fatigue begins to show, a sudden cry of excitement breaks the silence. This is. One architect exclaims excitedly. There's a space behind this wall. As everyone holds their breath, a section of the wall is carefully removed. A small entrance to a hidden room appears. Nicole takes out a flashlight with trembling hands and slowly illuminates the interior. The room is filled with dusty old boxes and documents. As Nicole steps inside, something gleams at her feet. She bends down to pick it up, an old gold ring. This might be. Nicole gasps. A token of gratitude given to Miranda by escaped slaves after they gained their freedom. As the investigation continues, remarkable discoveries keep emerging. Detailed records of helping escaped slaves, maps showing underground railroad routes, and amazingly, even artwork by a prominent black artist from the slavery era. These discoveries definitively established the house's historical value. The news spreads rapidly nationwide, prompting action from the state government. Days later, the governor himself holds a press conference, declaring the house will be protected as a national historical landmark. As news of Nicole's victory spreads, she gives interviews in front of the house. I'm truly happy this house will be preserved, Nicole smiles at the cameras. This isn't just my victory, it belongs to everyone who supported us. Just as the interview ends and Nicole prepares to return inside with Samantha, a familiar voice calls out. Nicole. She freezes at the sound. Turning around, she sees Nigel standing there. He looks tired but his eyes show determination. I need to talk to you, he says quietly. After a moment's hesitation and Samantha's encouragement, Nicole agrees to speak with him. They enter the living room where they once lived together. "First, I want to apologize," Nigel bows deeply. "My actions were foolish and despicable. I hurt you and sold this precious house. I regret everything." Nicole listens silently, complex emotions rising within her. "I saw you on the news," Nigel continues. "I never knew you could be so strong, so brave. I never really understood you at all." After a moment of silence, Nicole speaks quietly. "Nigel, I accept your apology. But I can't forgive you. At least, not now." Nigel nods sadly. "I understand. But I needed to tell you." As he rises to leave, he adds, "I ended things with Serena too. I feel terrible for her and her son, but I'm done running from my mistakes." As the door closes behind him, Nicole lets out a deep sigh. Outside, the sunset paints the sky red. Samantha gently places a hand on her shoulder. "Are you okay?" Nicole smiles and nods. "Yes, I'm fine." That night, Nicole walks alone through the house. She contemplates the history hidden in each room. The sadness of not being able to have children, the end of her marriage, and her newly discovered mission. She feels that everything has led her to this place. Standing by the living room window, gazing at the moonlit garden, Nicole speaks softly. "Miranda, you were watching over me, weren't you? Your courage and determination have lived on until today." She takes a deep breath, inscribing a new resolve in her heart. Not only has she protected the house, but she's also about to begin a new life here. The next morning, Nicole wakes early. She stands on the lawn in front of the house as the morning sun rises. It's the beginning of a new day. Samantha approaches, pushing her walker. "Good morning, Nicole. Today's the first day of your new job." Nicole nods. She has decided to run the house as a historical education center. "Yes, I'll share this house's story with many people," Nicole smiles. "So they can learn about our past and build a better future." The two look up at the house, bathed in morning light. At that moment, Nicole is enveloped by a strange sensation. It feels like she's finally found the place she's been searching for all along, a warmth she's been seeking. "Well, shall we go?" Nicole says brightly. It's the beginning of a new chapter. Walking toward the house with Samantha, Nicole's heart is full of hope. She's no longer trapped by past sorrows. Together with this house, she'll weave a new story, a tale of courage, love, and hope. A new page in Nicole's life is about to turn. On a crisp autumn morning, Nicole stands at the entrance of the house, now transformed into a museum. In the year since winning the battle to save it, much has changed. The house has been beautifully restored and reborn as a museum telling the story of the Underground Railroad during the Civil War. Nicole takes a deep breath and turns the key. Opening the door, she's greeted by the familiar scent of old wood. The walls are carefully decorated with photographs and documents telling the stories of escaped slaves. Every morning when Nicole sees this sight, she feels her heart warm with emotion. "Good morning, Nicole." Turning around, she sees Samantha slowly approaching with her cane. Samantha's rehabilitation has been remarkably successful, and she can now walk short distances. "Samantha." You came again today. Nicole happily embraces her friend. The two walk through the museum, making final checks of the exhibits. Nicole occasionally pauses to match Samantha's pace, smiling gently at her friend's recovery. It's all thanks to you, Nicole, Samantha suddenly says. Your strength gave me courage too. Nicole feels tears welling up. I should be thanking you, Samantha. I couldn't have made it this far without you. As opening time approaches, the first visitors begin arriving. Nicole stands at reception, greeting them with a smile. Local residents, tourists from afar, and school groups on field trips stream in one after another. Nicole passionately explains the house's history, its role in the Underground Railroad, the stories of courageous people, and the precious artifacts discovered. Every time she sees visitors' eyes light up with wonder and emotion while listening to her stories, Nicole feels a deep sense of purpose. That afternoon, unexpected visitors arrive. It's Nigel, holding the hand of a young boy. Nicole, Nigel calls out somewhat nervously. I wanted to see your work. Though momentarily flustered, Nicole quickly regains her composure. Welcome. Let me show you around. She explains the house's history matter-of-factly, suppressing complex emotions. Nigel listens intently, occasionally offering gentle explanations to the boy beside him. At the end of the tour, Nigel stops in front of the hidden room and speaks to the boy. In life, it's important to be honest. As the history of this house teaches us, it's important to have the courage to do what's right. Nicole feels her heart tighten at these words. She senses that Nigel has truly changed. After Nigel leaves, Nicole stands by the window, gazing into the distance. The reunion with her ex-husband has stirred her emotions more than expected. Yet it also reinforces her conviction that she has chosen the right path. That evening, Audrey visits. Nicole welcomes her eagerly. Audrey, thank you for coming. Would you listen to my ideas for a new program? Audrey smiles warmly. Of course, Nicole. I'm sure your ideas will be wonderful. Nicole begins explaining excitedly. It's an educational program to pass the house's history on to younger generations. Her ideas seem endless: partnerships with schools, workshops, and meetings with descendants of escaped slaves. That's wonderful, Nicole, Audrey says with emotion. Miranda would be so proud. At these words, Nicole tears up. The pain of not being able to have children still occasionally crosses her mind. But through this new mission, she feels she's become a different kind of mother. Weeks later, the new educational program begins. Nicole nervously but eagerly welcomes the first school group. Welcome, everyone, Nicole speaks gently. Today, I'll tell you the story of a very special house. Seeing the children's curious eyes, Nicole feels her heart warm. She begins telling them about the events that occurred in this house, the stories of courageous people, and the importance of freedom and equality. Watching the children's expressions change with surprise and emotion as they listen, Nicole reaffirms her mission. Through this house's history, she can convey important messages to the next generation. For Nicole, nothing could be more valuable than this. After the program ends and the children leave, Nicole walks quietly through the house. As she confronts the memories hidden in each room, she reflects on her life. The difficult marriage, the sorrow of not being able to have children, betrayal, and loss. And then, finding a new purpose in life in an unexpected way. All these experiences have shaped who she is today. Nicole stands by the window, looking up at the twilight sky. The orange-tinted sky hints at the beginning of a new day. "Miranda, are you watching?" Nicole whispers. Your courage continues to live in many people's hearts today. She takes a deep breath and smiles. Tomorrow, she'll welcome new visitors again and continue sharing this house's story. For Nicole, it's more than just a job, it's her life itself. Samantha gently places a hand on her shoulder. Let's go home, Nicole. Tomorrow will be another wonderful day. Nicole nods and leaves the house with her friend. Her heart is full of hope and gratitude. Meeting this house, protecting its history, and weaving new stories, this is the new chapter of her life. As she leaves through the front door, Nicole turns back one last time to look at the house. The old building, bathed in sunset light, seems to smile warmly. In her heart, Nicole whispers, "Thank you. And please continue to watch over me." Then she heads home, preparing to welcome another new morning. Early morning at 5 a.m. in the Boston suburbs, with mist hanging in the air. The crisp air enveloped the quiet residential neighborhood. Having just finished a 12-hour night shift, I stood in front of the white two-story house, dragging my tired feet. Morning dew still lingered in the well-maintained garden. The maple leaves swayed in the gentle breeze. I unlock the front door and quietly enter the house. As usual, the empty house is completely silent. I take off my shoes and pull my cell phone from my uniform pocket. Still no messages from my son. I head to the living room and, with my usual deep sigh, turn on the coffee maker. The sound of grinding beans echoes through the quiet house. While waiting, my eyes naturally drift to the photographs on the wall. The last family photo we took 5 years ago, on Ethan's 15th birthday. The three of us smiling in front of a chocolate cake. Ethan with his shy smile, Richard with his proud expression, and me happily resting my hand on my son's shoulder. Back then, no one could have imagined things would turn out this way. I'm Sarah Mitchell, a nurse with 13 years of experience in the emergency room at Boston General Hospital. Well respected as a dedicated healthcare worker, I've struggled to balance night shifts with family life. Known for my gentle personality, I'm trusted by my colleagues. I made sure to spend every holiday with my son. We'd visit museums, play with science experiment kits, or sometimes simply watch TV while eating popcorn. That ordinary daily life crumbled away after that day. When Ethan disappeared, he was a 15-year-old freshman in high school. He excelled particularly in science and math, belonged to the science club, and dreamed of becoming a medical technologist. Perhaps influenced by my work, he had a strong interest in the medical field. My quiet, bookish son didn't have many close friends, but he had a few good friends in the science club. He often spent his afternoons in the lab, and even at home, he could frequently be found absorbed in science magazines. And then there was Richard Cooper in our family. He was a well-known real estate agent in the area. Financially stable with an outgoing personality, he had a good reputation among others. He was devoted to family and actively participated in local volunteer activities. On holidays, He could be seen taking Ethan to baseball games or playing catch in the yard. After my divorce 10 years ago, I spent 5 years as a single mother before meeting Richard at a hospital charity event. He was there as a donor, and we first spoke at the reception desk where I was working. After dating for a year, we married, and when Ethan was 10, we started our new life as a family. Though I had concerns at first, Richard was kind to Ethan. At least, that's how it appeared to me. The smell of coffee begins to fill the room. As I pour it into a mug, I remember the morning scenes from back then. We always spent breakfast time together, all three of us. Ethan would eagerly talk about science club activities, Richard would share stories of his work successes, and I would talk about happenings at the hospital. The aroma of toast would waft through the air, and orange juice glasses would sparkle in the morning sun. We valued family time on holidays. The neighbors thought we were a very close-knit family. Staring at the photo, I keep replaying the events just before his disappearance. Ethan seemed normal, his grades were stable. Family relationships appeared good. There were absolutely no signs of problems. Or perhaps that's just how it seemed to me. As a mother, were there signs I should have noticed? Sinking my tired body into the sofa, I take a sip of hot coffee. The sun is slowly rising, brightening the room. Bird songs can be heard in the distance, announcing the start of a new day. However, for the past 5 years, my mornings have always been the same. Finishing a 12-hour night shift, returning home, drinking coffee while staring at my son's photo. That had become my daily routine. Sometimes tears would come, but today my eyes were dry. In the photograph, Ethan wears a gentle smile. Images flash through my mind, him absorbed in reading science books, earnestly writing lab reports, smiling while helping prepare dinner. The day his eyes sparkled saying, "I want to work in medicine too," when he saw me in my white uniform. Such fragments of daily life surface and fade away. The clock was approaching 6 a.m. Soon, the sounds of neighbors leaving for work and school would begin. I stand up and climb the stairs. I stop in front of Ethan's room. My hand rests on the doorknob for a while. Today, like yesterday, silence fills the room. The bed is neatly made, textbooks are stacked on the desk. His experiment notebook is written halfway through the last page, with a fountain pen resting on top. The space seems frozen in time, as if Ethan could return at any moment. The morning sun streaming through the window bathes the room in a golden hue. A new day is about to begin. But in my heart, time has remained frozen since that day. Every day I clean the room the same way, change the sheets, open the windows to let in fresh air. I was afraid of losing my son's scent. On top of the dresser stand the trophies Ethan won at science fairs, gleaming gold without a speck of dust. Next to them lies a brochure for a medical technology school, left exactly as Ethan had placed it. His dream is still here. That day was an ordinary Monday morning. Through the morning mist, Ethan left the house at 7:15 a.m. as usual. I was on day shift, so I could have breakfast with my son. Toast and scrambled eggs, with Ethan's favorite blueberry jam. We shared casual conversation, never imagining it would be our last breakfast together. "Mom, I might be late today. We're starting a new experiment in science club." Ethan said this while adjusting his school uniform tie. Richard had left early that morning. He said he had final adjustments for a big real estate deal, unusually not joining us for breakfast. Work at the hospital was busy as usual. Patients kept arriving at the emergency room, barely leaving time for lunch. Around 3 p.m., I received a message from Ethan. The experiment's looking good. I sent a quick reply, do your best. But don't stay too late. That would be my last exchange with my son. When 7 p.m. passed and Ethan hadn't returned, I initially thought the experiment was running long. But he usually would have contacted me, and now his cell phone was turned off. Growing worried, I called his science club advisor, who told me Ethan hadn't attended club activities after finishing afternoon classes. Panic hit me. I frantically contacted all his friends. No one had seen my son. His social media accounts showed no posts since morning. When Richard came home, he urged me to contact the police immediately. The police acted quickly. Checking security camera footage, the last image of Ethan was on the platform at the station nearest his school. He was in his uniform, wearing his usual backpack, holding his cell phone. His trail completely disappeared after that. He had only taken about $30 with him. Checking his wallet, we found his ATM card left behind. Police considered the possibility of kidnapping, but there were no threatening messages. It was as if my son had vanished into thin air. From that day, my life changed completely. The emotional shock forced me to take leave from the hospital. I went to the police station every day. I put up posters around town and showed my son's photo to passers-by. Unable to sleep at night, I spent more and more time in Ethan's room. Richard moved in a different direction. He hired private investigators for high fees, provided information to local media, and offered a $50,000 reward. He set up a dedicated website and called for community cooperation. On the surface, he showed the image of a devoted father. However, after several weeks passed, even the smallest leads began to dry up. There was no activity in bank accounts, no new traces on social media. Information from friends gradually stopped coming in. The school held a memorial service. The church held special prayer meetings every Sunday. Local volunteers continued search efforts, and classmates helped on their days off. Local news programs ran special features. Everyone was searching for my son. After a year passed, regular search activities naturally dwindled. Though I returned to work, I couldn't work with the same energy as before. Still, I continued to preserve Ethan's room exactly as it was. On his 16th birthday, I bought a cake and placed it in his room alone. The same for his 17th and 18th birthdays. Waiting for my son's return had become my new normal. After 3 years, the police began treating it as a cold case. But I couldn't give up. I regularly held press conferences and continued sharing information on social media. I built a relationship with an organization supporting missing children. On my way home from night shifts, I find myself staring intently at young men on the streets. When I spot someone with a build similar to Ethan's, I sometimes end up following them. And each time, when I realize it's someone else, I'm hit with a new sense of loss. Richard continued to show outward cooperation with the search efforts. But something felt off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I just couldn't shake the feeling that there was some hidden shadow behind my husband's kindness. The calendar on Ethan's desk remains unturned since that day. While the clock hands keep moving, this room alone remains trapped in time from 5 years ago. The room, kept dustless by daily cleaning, has an surreal air about it, like a model room. But I couldn't give up hope. My maternal instinct told me Ethan was safe. Someday, the truth would surely come to light. Until then, all I could do was wait. Time passed, and 5 years had gone by. As the seasons changed from autumn to winter, cold winds began to blow through Boston. As maple leaves fell in their autumn colors, I continued my shift work, including night shifts as always. Perhaps I was trying to fill the void in my heart by immersing myself in work. The bustle of the emergency room actually helped calm my mind. Ethan's room hadn't changed at all since the day he disappeared. The dustless space maintained by daily cleaning was like a time capsule preserving that moment from 5 years ago. The calendar on his desk still showed 2019, with Ethan's last penciled note, "Science Club Experiment," faintly visible. Textbooks remained open to their last pages, even a half-drunk water bottle stayed in its exact position. Every 15th of the month, I would routinely visit the police station. Even though I knew there was no new information, I kept up this habit. The detective in charge had changed 3 times, but I couldn't give up. With each visit, I could painfully see how the police officers' gazes grew more sympathetic. Richard had become absorbed in his work. His reputation in the real estate industry grew year by year, and he was rarely home. Even when we did see each other, conversation was minimal. "How's work?" "Fine." "I see." That was the extent of our exchange. A heavy atmosphere constantly hung over the house. Though we maintained the appearance of a normal couple on the surface, the emotional distance between us was definitely growing. Opportunities to share meals together decreased, and I often ate alone. I still couldn't break the habit of setting the table for 3. The unused dishes reflected light emptily. That day was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. As I was trying to get some sleep before my night shift at the hospital, the phone suddenly rang. Seeing the police station number on the display, my heart leaped. It wasn't the usual 15th of the month check-in. A slight hope flickered at this irregular contact that would normally cause worry. "Mrs. Mitchell." The detective's familiar voice. But something was different. There was an unusual tension in his tone. "Someone in prison wants to meet with you." When I heard those words, I felt strength drain from my entire body. My mind went blank, and for a while, I couldn't speak. My hand gripped the receiver so tightly I could hear the plastic creak. Could it be? I couldn't even find the courage to finish that sentence. A mixture of hope and anxiety swirled within me. My heartbeat echoed in my ears, and surrounding sounds grew distant. The detective's explanation was minimal. "A meeting at the Massachusetts Youth Detention Center. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. He said he couldn't share more information over the phone. That reluctance suggested something serious was being withheld. I couldn't sleep that night. I quickly found someone to cover my night shift. I spent until dawn in Ethan's room, touching each of his belongings while contemplating tomorrow's reunion. I stroked the spines of his favorite books, touched his uniform buttons, traced the letters on his certificates with my finger. Everything was exactly as it was 5 years ago, yet everything looked different. When morning came, I stood frozen in front of the mirror. 5 years had mercilessly etched themselves on my face. Would Ethan notice the changes in me? Or would he not even remember me anymore? The next day, in the car heading to the detention center, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. My fingers trembled so much I could barely steer straight. Even the music from the car radio sounded strangely distorted. After arriving at the facility and going through rigorous security checks, I was led to the meeting room. I had to surrender all my belongings, pass through metal detectors, and go through numerous doors. Though I was used to secure areas in the hospital as a nurse, this heavy atmosphere was completely different. The room was smaller than I had imagined. One small window in the white walls. Metal table and chairs placed sterilely. The fluorescent lighting increased the tension even more. A surveillance camera was mounted on the wall, its red light blinking silently. I clasped my trembling hands in my lap while waiting for the door to open. The ticking of the clock's second hand seemed abnormally loud. My heartbeat quickened and my breathing grew rough. The precautions I had read in the waiting room kept spinning in my head. Then the door opened. The heavy metallic sound echoed through the room, and time seemed to stop. I caught my breath when I saw the young man who entered. Though taller and thinner, it was unmistakably Ethan. The softness of his boyhood was gone, and his eyes had hardened somewhat. His cheekbones protruded, and there was an unfamiliar scar on his neck. The orange prison uniform emphasized the strange reality. But he was definitely my son. Time passed in silence as we both lost our words. Silence filled the room. Ethan couldn't meet my eyes, keeping his head down. That gesture was the same as 5 years ago. Just like when he hadn't finished his homework or failed an experiment. Why didn't you contact me? I finally managed to squeeze out the words. My voice was shaking. I wasn't even sure what I meant by the question. It just contained 5 years' worth of feelings in that one phrase. Ethan slowly raised his face and met his mother's eyes for the first time in 5 years. I wanted to protect you, Mom. The moment I heard those words, hot tears rolled down my cheeks. There was a glimmer in Ethan's eyes too. Though my appearance must have changed in these 5 years, his eyes reflected only kindness. My son's hands were clenched on the table, his knuckles white. I instinctively reached out to touch them, but the yellow line drawn on the table stopped me. Visiting room rules. Beyond the physical distance, 5 years of time lay between us. The afternoon light streaming through the window illuminated Ethan's profile. Traces of the 15-year-old boy remained, but he had definitely grown into a young man. The sense of loss from these 5 years I couldn't watch him grow struck my heart. The wrinkled uniform shirt, overgrown hair, thin fingers. The empty time told by everything pierced my heart painfully. There's something I need to tell you. The moment I heard those words, my heart clenched tightly. Ethan took an envelope from his prison uniform pocket and placed it on the table. The guard behind him nodded slightly, indicating it was an allowed possession. This is a record of these 5 years. Ethan's voice was quiet but strong. From the envelope, he pulled out an old cell phone and several handwritten notes. Though the screen was cracked, it still powered on. There were signs it had been carefully preserved like a treasure. Richard had complete control over our lives. My body trembled at Ethan's words. My son scrolled through the screen. There, meticulously recorded, were traces of abuse with dates and times. The number of times he was hit, the content of verbal abuse, the location of injuries. Like scientific experiment data, the 15-year-old boy had calmly kept records. There were even photos showing bruises and scars vividly. I never wanted you to notice, Mom. He would wait for your night shifts. Ethan's voice caught. I held my breath. Indeed, the dates of recorded abuse almost always coincided with my night shift days. It was planned. Richard would wait until I wasn't around, and then he would. But that wasn't all. Ethan pulled out another note. It contained amounts and dates recorded in detail. Like an accounting ledger, every transaction was recorded with precision. Richard was controlling all of your salary, Mom. The bank book, credit cards, everything. It was calculated to make sure you couldn't escape. I felt overwhelmed by my own foolishness. Indeed, I had left all finances to Richard. At his suggestion, my salary was automatically deposited into a joint account. I believed that was what family bonds meant. The day I ran away, I made a decision. Nothing would change if I just endured it. But if I was going to run, I needed evidence. Evidence to expose Richard's true nature. Ethan began living on the streets of Boston from that day. He met other runaway teens and survived with their help. He even shoplifted to eat. But it didn't end there. 6 months later, I got caught up in a robbery. Ethan's voice trembled. He was arrested as an accomplice while trying to stop his companions from robbing a store. However, this became a turning point. When I was arrested, I told everything to Detective Johnson from the Juvenile Division. That detective listened seriously to Ethan's story. The evidence of abuse, the reality of economic domestic violence, and the disappearance to protect his mother. After confirming all the truth, the detective immediately began to act. However, the investigation proved more difficult than expected. Detective Johnson explained why. Richard Cooper's influence far exceeded our imagination. The detective continued with a stern expression. He wasn't just a real estate agent. He was a central figure in Boston's redevelopment projects, with strong connections in political and financial circles. He had collaborators within the police force, and our investigation was constantly monitored. The first year was a battle against internal information leaks. Detectives assigned to Ethan's case would suddenly be transferred, important evidence would mysteriously disappear. The investigation team had to be reorganized with a small number of carefully selected, trustworthy members. In the second year, moves to obstruct our investigation intensified. Detective Johnson opened a thick file. Cooper cleverly manipulated Ethan's disappearance. While playing the role of a devoted father searching for his beloved son, he was behind the scenes destroying evidence. Richard frequently appeared in the media as a father searching for Ethan. He offered a $50,000 reward, hired private detectives, and held press conferences almost weekly. From the outside, he appeared to be a father desperately searching for his son. Those well-meaning actions were actually severely hampering our investigation. The detective's expression turned bitter. The private detective he hired was actually a former police officer, serving to monitor our movements. The reward money information was just noise to drown out real information about Ethan's whereabouts. In the third year, even more clever interference began. Richard had invited police executives as investors in his real estate development projects, creating conflicts of interest to pressure the investigation. In the fourth year, we finally saw a breakthrough. Detective Johnson pulled out new documents. Cooper's former secretary provided whistleblowing testimony. Falsified accounting documents, witness testimony of domestic violence. It was decisive evidence. However, it took time to obtain that testimony. The former secretary feared retaliation from Richard. The police prepared a witness protection program and carefully drew out the testimony. And the final year was spent solidifying all the evidence. The detective showed a timeline diagram. Cooper's crimes go beyond domestic violence. Organized fraud, evidence destruction, obstruction of justice. Meticulous preparation was needed to prove everything. But why didn't you tell me? Ethan answered my question. If I had contacted you, Richard would have noticed immediately. Then all the evidence would have been destroyed. We knew we needed perfect evidence to bring Richard down. And yesterday, finally all preparations were complete. At 5 a.m., over 100 investigators moved simultaneously. Richard's home, office, warehouse, related companies. Search warrants were executed simultaneously, and decisive evidence was seized one after another. Richard tried to contact his collaborators within the police force, as predicted. However, those phones were already tapped. It only added new evidence of obstruction of justice. Mom, I'm sorry. Tears fell from Ethan's eyes for the first time. But I wanted to protect you. I wanted to free you from Richard's control. That's why I made you wait 5 years. Just then, the bell announcing the end of visiting hours rang. Ethan stood up and looked firmly into my eyes one last time. It's okay now, Mom. Those words contained 5 years of feelings. The next day's newspapers widely reported this case. Prominent real estate developers' continuous abuse revealed. 15-year-old boy's meticulous 5-year records proved decisive. Allegations of bribing police executives. Systematic evidence destruction scheme exposed. It sent shockwaves through the local community. Richard's double life as a supposedly good businessman. 5 years of pretending to be a devoted father searching for his son. And the courage of a boy who risked his life collecting evidence to expose it all. I submitted a leave request to the hospital. We need to start a new life now. The evidence Ethan desperately gathered. His courage. And the police who carefully prepared to protect us. All the truth is gradually coming to light. It was an ending, but also a beginning. 3 months have passed since then. In the Boston suburbs where maple leaves beginning to turn color sparkle in the morning sun, we started living in a new apartment. Ethan's detention period was shortened due to his success in the rehabilitation program. Our 3-story apartment with white curtains swaying in the breeze is nothing compared to our former mansion, but here we have real freedom. Twice a week in psychological counseling, I face my own blind spots. As an emergency room nurse working many night shifts, I always struggled balancing work and childcare. Economic anxiety as a single mother, guilt about making my son feel lonely. Richard perfectly understood these vulnerabilities of mine. At first, he played the role of the ideal father perfectly. He always attended Ethan's school events, taught him baseball on holidays, bought him science books. He showed understanding for my night shifts, encouraging me saying, "Your work is important." I had no room to doubt his kindness. "Leave the finances to me." The control began with those words. My salary was automatically deposited into a joint account, and all spending was under Richard's control. Under the beautiful name of family trust, my economic freedom was gradually taken away. By the time I realized it, I was in a cage, unable to take a single step. As a nurse, I should have been trained to recognize signs of abuse. But I couldn't see what was happening in the closest place. Richard cleverly timed his abuse with my night shifts, and Ethan desperately hid his pain to avoid worrying his mother. A perfect disguise and trap of silence. That created 5 years of darkness. Richard's trial concluded with a 20-year prison sentence. The seized materials revealed similar patterns with other families. His real estate empire collapsed, and his assets will be used as a victim support fund. Ethan hadn't given up his dream of becoming a medical technologist. His passion for science still burned strong even after 5 years of emptiness. On weekends, he volunteers at the Juvenile Detention Center, supporting young people in similar situations. I also transferred from the emergency room to a specialized domestic violence prevention department. I'm working particularly on creating guidelines for early detection of economic domestic violence. To rescue people suffering in similar situations earlier. That has become my new mission. Breakfast time is now our happiest moment. The aroma of coffee Ethan brews, the toasted bread, morning sunlight streaming across the table. Casual conversation flows, sometimes followed by silence. But that silence no longer holds any heaviness. "Mom, looks like it'll be another beautiful day." As I nod to Ethan's words, I look out the window. A new seasonal wind is blowing. Indeed, 5 years took many things from us. But it also gave us new things. Strength, gentleness, and above all, hope. Difficulties will surely come in the future too. But we're not alone anymore. Ethan and me, and the people who support us. These bonds light our new path. Beyond the morning mist, we can see a definite light. "It's starting to snow again," I said, looking up at the sky from the driver's seat. Late November in Minnesota always brings early sunsets like this. As we approached the Highland Park district, streetlights began casting their warm glow. The dashboard clock showed 4:15 p.m. The temperature gauge read 34 degrees Fahrenheit, and tiny snowflakes were dancing on the windshield. The aroma of homemade pumpkin pie filled the car. It was my pride and joy, carefully crafted since morning. The sense of cinnamon and nutmeg brought back memories of George, who had always loved my homemade pies. This would be my first visit to Adam's new home. It was my small gift for spending Thanksgiving week with my precious family. On the passenger seat, I had also packed ingredients for Ben's favorite hot chocolate. I'm Martha Hamilton, 65 years old. I worked as a receptionist at Mayo Clinic for 35 years. My pride was in comforting patients and offering words of encouragement when I saw worry in their faces. Now retired, I live quietly alone in St. Paul. Since losing my husband George to heart disease 2 years ago, time with my son's family has become more precious than ever. My morning walks and church volunteer work have become the pillars of my daily life. As I drove along Mississippi River Boulevard, my thoughts wandered to my new family's life. My son Adam has built a 10-year career as a real estate appraiser and now serves as the chief appraiser at Market Real Estate Appraisal. His meticulous and honest nature might have come from me. 3 years ago, he divorced his first wife Carol, who moved to London for her advertising agency job. My heart still aches remembering how devastated he was then. But Adam found a new life. He met Rachel, a pharmacist at Walgreens. Despite her irregular shifts including night work, she's always family-oriented. I love her homey nature and cooking skills, especially her green bean casserole that honors Minnesota's traditional flavors. At their wedding a year ago, my heart swelled seeing my son's happy smile. Though Rachel herself went through a divorce 5 years ago, that experience seems to have deepened her appreciation for family bonds. I trust the strength hidden beneath her reserved personality. And then there's my beloved grandson Ben, a 7-year-old second grader at St. Paul Elementary. He's a spirited Little League baseball player. I heard he recently hit a wonderful shot that contributed to his team's victory. It comforts me to see him calling Rachel Mom with such affection. He's a gentle boy who loves drawing and always sends me handmade birthday cards. This year's card showed baseball players on a field with a big sun in the sky and the words, "I love you, Grandma," dancing across it. Though his environment changed with the move 3 months ago, he seems to be adapting well. He happily told me on the phone about making new friends. Past the Highland Park Shopping Center, the quiet residential area spreads out. Sometimes, I enjoy tea at Caribou Coffee here with my best friend Sarah. A former nurse, we meet twice a week and get caught up in conversations about healthcare and family. Her experience-based advice is always spot on and reassuring. Even I, usually so punctual, lose track of time when I'm with Sarah. She promised to visit during my stay this time. The new house is a 2-story, 40-year-old single-family home. Snow will soon blanket the spacious yard. I heard Adam plans to install a baseball practice net there in spring. Street lights that Adam installed over the weekend line the approach to the entrance. The old rose bushes should bloom beautifully in summer. Though it's an old house with a basement, the living room with its fireplace is filled with family warmth. In the photos Adam showed me, the antique wooden mantelpiece was particularly impressive. Ben's room is the corner room on the second floor. He excitedly told me on the phone that he can see the park from his window. He's proudly displaying his baseball team's championship trophy and dinosaur figure collection. On weekdays, Adam works from 9 to 6. Rachel manages Ben's baseball practice transportation despite her irregular shifts. I was happy to hear they always have dinner together as a family. They share their day's events while watching NFL games on TV. Such ordinary moments must be deepening the bonds of this new family. Adam has grown into a good father, always making time to spend with Ben on holidays. As I parked the car, the front door already opened. "Grandma." Ben came running out. Rachel waved behind him. In the snowy twilight, warm light enveloped me. Snowflakes sparkled in the streetlight like angel wings. "Please be careful," Rachel said, reaching out to help with my bags. In her hand-knit sweater, she looked like she could be on a magazine cover. "The pie smells wonderful," she smiled. In my heart, I wished for this week-long stay to become a beautiful memory. Church bells rang softly from the direction of Cretin-Derham Hall High School. This is how winter always arrives in Minnesota. Warm light spills from the windows of old houses, and bare trees sway in the cold wind in backyards. And soon, unexpected events would unfold before us. But at that moment, I didn't have even the slightest premonition. The long night was quietly beginning. The morning that awakened in the cold was filled with gentle light. Coffee aroma wafted from the kitchen, accompanied by the sound of Ben crunching his cereal. Outside the window, last night's snow had accumulated lightly, gleaming in the morning sun. "Good morning, Martha. Did you sleep well?" Rachel smiled while making French toast. Despite just finishing her night shift, she showed no signs of fatigue. I felt warmth in her profile as she prepared breakfast in her apron. "Mom's French toast is the best in the world." Ben's voice rang out happily. The scent of maple syrup filled the room. "I'm off." Adam appeared in his suit and kissed Rachel's cheek. She called out, "Be careful," as he waved goodbye and left for work. His retreating figure through the window reminded me of George in his younger days. "Ben, it's time for school." When I called out, Ben quickly shouldered his backpack. Rachel was off after her night shift, so I was scheduled to take him. Walking to St. Paul Elementary in the freezing morning air, Ben chatted excitedly about baseball practice, his new friends, and the volcano model he's making in science class. His voice turned to white breath in the cold winter air. "Thanks for picking me up, Grandma." Ben turned and waved at the school gate. I watched his small back until he disappeared into the building. Back home, I helped Rachel with housework. We vacuumed, folded laundry, and started preparing lunch. But looking in the refrigerator, I was surprised. The ham, cheese, and vegetables bought just yesterday had diminished more than expected. The food seems to be disappearing quickly. "Yes, everyone's been quite hungry lately," Rachel laughed awkwardly. "Maybe Ben's going through a growth spurt." Her words didn't seem strange, but I thought I saw a shadow of hesitation in her expression. However, I didn't think much of it at the time. Ben returned from school at 3 p.m. We worked on math homework at the living room table. He solved addition and subtraction problems with a serious expression. Outside, snow had started falling again. "Rachel, time to go." "Yes, night shift," she answered while changing into her uniform. "Martha, Adam said he'll be late today. Could you handle dinner?" "Of course. Don't worry." After Rachel left, Ben and I started preparing dinner. I heated cream of mushroom soup and made sandwiches. Ben was quietly drawing a picture of a house in moonlight. The light from the windows was colored in a mysterious blue. Adam returned home after 8 p.m. As he apologetically explained being caught up with work, looking tired, I offered him the soup I'd kept warm. And then that night came. I got up to use the bathroom late at night. The second-floor hallway was dimly lit by moonlight, my feet barely visible. The house was silent except for the cold wind rustling trees outside. Then I heard a faint sound. From Ben's room. Soft voices. My heart suddenly started beating faster. I approached the room quietly, keeping close to the wall to avoid making footsteps. Bluish moonlight leaked through the door crack. My heart pounded even harder. When I peeked in, my breath stopped. In the moonlit room, the bed was empty. And by the wall sat Ben in his pajamas. His back was turned, and he seemed to be talking to someone in a small voice. Suddenly, he turned around. His face in the moonlight wore an expression I'd never seen before. "Grandma, don't come in. They'll get angry." A trembling voice. Frightened eyes. A sensation like my blood freezing. Ben immediately turned back to the wall and started talking in a small voice again. As if someone was there. I froze, unable to move. Violent heartbeat and chills down my spine. Finally managing to quietly leave the room. Even back in my own room, Ben's trembling voice kept echoing in my ears. "They'll get angry." Who? What? That night, I couldn't sleep at all. Rolling over in bed countless times, Ben's frightened expression remained burned into my eyelids. Outside, the cold wind kept blowing, and the old house's creaking occasionally echoed ominously. At the breakfast table, last night's terror cast no shadow. Ben was stuffing his face with Cheerios as usual. Adam read the newspaper while drinking coffee, a typical morning scene. But my heart was still trapped in that pale moonlight. "I'm off." Adam left for work, and Ben headed to school energetically. Rachel was resting in her bedroom after her night shift. In the quiet house, I mulled over last night's events. While gathering laundry, my unease grew. There were unfamiliar children's clothes in the basket. A navy blue hoodie too big for Ben. Gray sweatpants. And the amount of laundry was more than expected. Too much for a family of 3. The same unease was present in the kitchen. The bread, milk, and fruit bought yesterday were already half gone. Rachel's words about being hungry suddenly felt unnatural. And sounds from the basement. Faint footsteps, things being moved. Old house noises, or the heating system. But somehow, they seemed like living sounds. At dinner, I carefully observed Ben. He looked tired. Occasional glances exchanged between Adam and Rachel. An air of something being hidden seemed to hover. The next day, and the day after, the unease continued to grow. Increasing laundry. Disappearing food. Night sounds. And presence from the basement. Ben's behavior gradually changed too. "I have a secret friend," he would occasionally murmur. The wall conversations seemed to continue, with small voices heard at night. He showed worried expressions while watching his family. The energetic baseball boy was slowly showing signs of fatigue. I made my decision the day before Thanksgiving. When everyone was out, Adam at work, Rachel shopping, Ben at school. I slowly descended the basement stairs. The first thing that caught my eye was a locked door. A new padlock, unsuitable for a normal basement. And the heating pipes. Unnaturally bent pipes leading somewhere. To my eyes, familiar with old house construction, something was clearly wrong. The coal room. A space once used to store heating coal. A place that should be unused now. But from beyond the pipes came a faint warmth. The sound of unlocking echoed in the quiet basement. Beyond the door spread a scene I never expected. A converted space. A small bed. Bookshelf. Medical equipment. Oxygen tanks. Asthma inhalers. Signs of life were there. Mrs. Martha. A voice behind me. I turned to find Rachel standing there. She had returned early from shopping. Tears glistened in her eyes. Let me explain. Her voice trembled. And then all the truth was revealed. Noah. A 12-year-old boy. Rachel's son from her first marriage. His father had refused treatment for his severe asthma. Believing prayer solves everything, he continuously denied medical care. Rachel decided to flee to protect her son. Adam found this for us. This hiding place in the house. As a real estate appraiser, he knew old house structures. He converted the coal room, set up heating, and created a safe haven. Ben plays with Noah every day. Keeping their secret promise. Noah who looks up to Ben like a brother, and Ben who treats Noah like a little brother. The wall conversations were actually through a secret passage to the basement. We're gathering evidence. Consulting with lawyers. Adam was collecting records of the ex-husband's medical neglect. Hospital charts, school records, testimonies. Preparations to regain custody were steadily progressing. Please, please help us. At Rachel's pleading voice, I sighed deeply. What I thought was fear turned out to be love. In the dim basement, we exchanged words for a long time. A mother's love for her hidden son. The bonds of a new family supporting that. And the approaching time of decision. Outside, snow had started falling. Before Thanksgiving, Minnesota's sky was quietly turning white. Great trials surely awaited us. I understand, I gripped Rachel's hand tightly. I'll help your family. Not even 24 hours had passed since those words were exchanged. Thanksgiving Eve, snow was piling deep outside and temperatures were dropping. The old house's heating system made groaning sounds, and frost crystals formed geometric patterns on the windows. I had just gone down to the basement to check on Noah. How are you feeling? I'm okay. No attacks like yesterday. Noah smiled while reading his book. His eyes held his mother's gentleness. His hiding place had become a warm space despite its small size, thanks to Rachel and Adam's efforts. Baseball player posters on the walls, textbooks and storybooks on the shelves, and an asthma inhaler ready by the bed. That's when violent knocking echoed at the front door. Aggressive sounds like trying to break it down. Rachel. Open up. I know you're there. A drunk man's voice thundered through the house. Rachel, coming up the stairs, went pale. Her hands shook, dropping the laundry basket she was holding. underwear and socks scattered across the floor. "James," she whispered in a trembling voice. "How did someone find us?" Her voice mixed exhaustion and fear, characteristic of someone who had been running for years. Adam moved quickly. "Noah to the hiding place. Ben upstairs." His voice was calm, but his hands trembled. His face had changed from the usual mild-mannered real estate appraiser to a husband protecting his family. Rachel hurriedly began gathering medical records and evidence documents. Hospital charts, school records, and letters from lawyers from the drawers. Her movements, though rushed, showed a certainty as if practiced many times. I took Ben upstairs. As we climbed the stairs, the sounds at the entrance grew more violent. "Grandma, I'm scared." Ben's voice trembled. His small hand gripped my sweater tightly. "It's all right. Stay quiet." While holding him, I was thinking, hoping my Mayo Clinic experience would help in this emergency. At the entrance, Adam confronted James. The front door was open, letting in cold wind and snow. James's large frame seemed to overwhelm Adam. "I'm calling the police," Adam's voice carried desperate dignity. "Go ahead. I've got a search warrant. I'll search every corner." The smell of alcohol spread with the cold air. James's face was red, his eyes bloodshot. I took out my phone. Acting swiftly while remembering the calmness cultivated at Mayo Clinic. First, the Johnson couple next door. "Janet, we need help. Call the police." "Yes, that house." Janet understood quickly. "Got it, Martha. I'll handle it right away." Next, my friend Sarah. "Come quickly. Be a witness for the medical records." "Yes, that matter." As a former nurse, she would understand the situation perfectly. Then, Highland Park Police Station. "There's a history of domestic violence, and children are in danger." "Yes, 687 Highland Park Street." Downstairs, Adam was desperately buying time. "Show me the warrant." "Without proper procedures dash." "Shut up." The sound of something falling. The entrance vase crashed to the floor, shattering. Rachel's scream. James pushed past Adam, stepping into the house with snowy boots. Melting snow left stains on the flooring. I descended the stairs. Maintaining the calmness cultivated through 35 years of hospital work. Straightening my back, composing my expression. Emergency response was my specialty. "So you're James." The man turned at my voice. Drunk eyes sized me up from head to toe. "Who are you?" he growled threateningly. "The mother of this house. And a former Mayo Clinic employee." I slowly took documents from my bag. My hands trembled, but my voice was steady. "These are your son's medical records. Records of emergency room visits for asthma attacks. And evidence of you refusing treatment. All dated and preserved." The man's eyes widened. Perhaps sobering slightly, his expression changed. Just then, sirens approached. Red and blue lights turning the corner created fantastical patterns as they reflected off the snow crystals. "These records have already been submitted to the police." A lie. But sometimes a mother's plea for salvation carries more power than truth. The man's face paled, the alcohol-induced redness draining from his cheeks. When the police arrived, James had already given up. Sitting in the snow-covered entrance, staring blankly ahead. Violent entry, threats, and evidence of years of medical neglect. The police arrested him and immediately issued a temporary protection order. Sarah also rushed over, providing expert testimony. With these symptoms, immediate treatment was necessary. This is clear medical neglect. Her professional opinion made the situation definitive. Blue lights flashed in the heavy snow. Police vehicles filled the front yard, curious neighbors' eyes gleaming. Rachel leaned against Adam, shoulders shaking with sobs. Tears of liberation or anxiety? When Noah emerged from the basement, the police officers were speechless. "How did you manage to protect him in such a place?" a young officer wondered aloud. Ben ran down the stairs and threw himself at Noah. "It's okay now. You don't have to hide anymore." Watching the two boys who were like brothers, I felt warmth well up inside me. The bond that had grown between them would surely strengthen beyond this ordeal. Outside the blizzard intensified, but inside the house had regained its calm. The fireplace flames flickered, and the scent of turkey wafted through the air. Tomorrow was Thanksgiving. It would be their first holiday truly spent as a family. The police vehicle's taillights disappeared into the snow. The red glow gradually faded on the fresh snow. I stood by the window and prayed silently. May this be not an end, but a new beginning. And may this family's bonds grow stronger and deeper. The bells announcing Thanksgiving echoed through the quiet residential streets of Highland Park. 3 months have passed since Thanksgiving night. Minnesota's harsh winter is finally beginning to soften. Melting snow in the backyard heralds spring's arrival. Things began moving rapidly after that night. Highland Park police acted swiftly, issuing a protection order immediately after James's arrest. The court understood the gravity of the situation and entered emergency proceedings. The evidence Rachel had gathered over years, Mayo Clinic medical records, and testimony from Sarah and me. In court, they told the story of a mother's love and the weight of a child's life. The lawyer carefully explained the reality of domestic violence and medical neglect. The judge's decision was swift. The verdict came right after the new year. A guilty verdict for James and complete custody transfer to Rachel. Everything was decided in just 6 weeks of proceedings. James's change was unexpected. After 2 months in detention, he became almost a different person. At the court where he received a 3-year prison sentence for medical neglect, he finally turned to Rachel and Noah and whispered just one word: "Sorry." His voice had lost its former intimidating tone. His parents also appeared. They tearfully apologized for refusing their grandson's treatment due to conservative religious beliefs. Now they're learning about the relationship between faith and medicine while participating in rehabilitation programs. They're allowed to write monthly letters to Noah. The new life took shape steadily. Noah finally emerged from the basement to live in the room next to Ben's. The two are as close as real brothers. Noah integrated quickly after transferring to St. Paul Elementary. His gentle nature made many friends. His asthma treatment is progressing well too. Regular hospital visits and proper medication have greatly reduced his attacks. Recently, he participated in a short-distance race during PE class and placed third in his class. That night's dinner felt like a celebration. Rachel was promoted as a pharmacist and has fewer night shifts. Adam maintains his gentle nature, loving both children equally. Watching Minnesota Twins games together on weekends has become their new family tradition. Me? Yes, I still enjoy tea twice a week with Sarah. But now our conversations center around the grandchildren. Actually, I've decided to move near this house next month. Spending quiet afternoons reading picture books to my 2 grandsons over hot chocolate has become my greatest joy. The other day, Noah secretly told me, "Ben still sometimes talks to the wall." I couldn't help but smile. Yes. He probably doesn't want to forget those precious memories. The Highland Park neighborhood was beginning to embrace spring weather. The old roses in the garden would soon bud. Family laughter echoes by the fireplace. Sometimes I remember that Thanksgiving night. How what I thought was fear turned out to be great love. And how that love now exists in tangible form. The secret behind the wall no longer frightens anyone. It lives on only in our hearts as a precious story that confirms our family bonds.